I'm an incident detection expert, not a Teams expert. Okay, let's start. We are 40. I hope some others will arrive. So what is the organization quickly? So the webinar is recorded. Please mute your camera and microphone during the presentation. If you have questions, put the question in the chat. I'll be looking at the same time, but maybe I will answer at the end during the question and answer session. And the replay and the slides will all be available after the webinar. Just give me the time to make it right, and then you'll have the link. So first, I will quickly introduce the speakers. So me, I'm Gilles Lehmann from IMT. It's an engineering school. I'm a researcher. I used to be in industry, but since 2 years, I'm a full-time researcher. And I work in the I'm an incident detection expert, and I'm the writer of the IDMEFv2 draft with my former team. There is Gabriele and Nicola from engineering, who are experts in critical infrastructure protection. And so Gabriele is more project coordinator and Nicola more technical expert. They will present their feedback on their own project. And Cédric Wipaye, who works at CEA, who is in artificial intelligence and is also leading a project where they use IDMEFv2, and he will present also his feedback. So a quick introduction about the agenda. First, this short introduction. It will be short. Then I will go through IDMEFv2 in theory. The idea is to explain to you how we come to this format, what it is supposed to do, and a little bit of how it works technically, very briefly, but just you have an idea because it's very simple. Then we'll go through a presentation of the different projects where we worked with IDMEFv2. So me and also engineering, and we have a different feedback. And then we'll go through the conclusion. I will talk especially about the standardization process, which is very important. Cédric, is everything fine? You hearing me correctly?
Everything is fine.
Can you see the slides?
No.
Oh.
No.
Not the slides yet. Are you already? Okay.
Okay, so thank you, Gabriele. I forgot to share the slides. So now you can see the slides.
Yeah, yes, we can. Yeah, thanks.
Perfect. Luckily, you warned me. So there was nothing very on the first slide. Is just, oh, now I can't move the slide anymore. Yeah, the first slide was just the list of the people. You will have it. Then the agenda. And now let's start with some definition quickly, but it's important because incident detection is a field where everyone has his own vocabulary. So I will share very, very few concepts. First, the concept of event. So an event is anything that takes place or happens. What is important is that usually an incident is the result of an event or a combination of events, but an event is not necessarily an incident. So an incident is an event that negatively affects your organization, and particularly in terms of security, which can compromise at least confidentiality, integrity, or availability. And the incident detection is the process of identifying threats by monitoring all that. So basically, if you go very simple, there is millions of incidents, and incident detection is the art of detecting out of all these incidents, which are all those events, sorry, which are real incident and needs to be taken care of. So incident example can be an intrusion in the finance server, a physical intrusion, someone entering the data center, they are not allowed, an elevator breakdown. If the elevator is broken, people can't go work, so it affects negatively the company. A virus or even a heat wave. For example, I thought yesterday night there was a big storm in Paris. There have been even dead people, and that's a real incident. It's worse than a virus. If it's during the day, people can't work, etc. So we consider that also as an incident. So now that we've started with few definitions, let's go through the theory and what is the problem we're trying to solve with IDMEFv2. So here we have like a representation of a company with a production part, administrative, the building management, I think energy, all that, and the PC, the servers, the network, etc. So in the 90s, let's say approximately, people, when there was, first there was very few PCs and servers, and then they started to have a lot, and that's when we started to have availability monitoring with what I call network monitoring system. It's, I would say, the equivalent of a SIEM in the availability management. There is not an official name, so we will call that network management system using SNMP very often. And they were monitoring PC, servers, network, etc. Then start the cybersecurity, start being connected to internet. There was security problems, so that's started with SIEM and SEM, and then there was the SIEM. It was invented, the name was invented in 2005 by the Gartner. And the perimeter would add employees, because employees would authenticate and things like that. And then in 2010, approximately, we start having the physical security with everything connected. So there is cameras, CCTVs, incident movement detector, fire detector, etc., etc. And now on the right, we have IoT. So I don't know where to put them because they are actually, they were there and now they're going to be everywhere. And the problem is that all that is monitored separately. There is cybersecurity, physical security, availability. No communication. You can't communicate between the different platforms. And this is going to be worse with the rise of IoT, IoT, everything, smart cities. There's going to be IT everywhere in the physical world. And this is why IDMEFv2 is even more important, because we are preparing, I would say, preparing the future. There is already a convergence between physical and security world, but it's going to be more and more in the future. And by compartmenting all that, it's going to be more and more difficult to prevent, detect, and respond to combine or complex incident with cascade effects and all that. And even the CIA, let's not talk about physical, even the CIA, the fact that security is not really security in SIEM. It's just confidentiality and integrity. SIEM, they don't care about availability. Availability is in NMS. So even CIA is not in the same, even the security is not in the same tools and process. So separate tools and process means no cross-correlation of forensic, no team resources pooling, and complex chain incident or attacks is difficult to detect. quickly, let's have a theoretical reason why a server wouldn't be working. So it explains everything. I have my server not responding. Here is a few reasons why. So maybe it's the CPU to 100%, so it's more availability. Maybe there is a crypto war, it's cyber. Maybe there is a fire in the server room, so it's physical. Network card availability, someone entered and disconnected physical availability, etc., etc. And you go to the strong heat wave. Let's say there is a strong heat wave and the air conditioning is not working, resulting on overheating and crashing down. That's hazard plus availability. And the last one, the worst case scenario, is a shy drone destroyed the data center. I'm giving this example because it's coming. We are in a time where everything, there are combined attacks and all that, and a hybrid war. And of course, the shy drone is not coming to us, but it's coming to Ukraine already. So they already, it's more than an incident, it's worse than a virus. So we think all those incidents should be reported and consolidated in the same monitoring platform. It's historical that there are different platforms, but if you think a little bit, that's a little bit weird. I will explain later. I've been managing different products, network management and a SIM. So I was product manager. And I can tell you it's really weird to deploy two tools which are monitoring more or less. Part of it is similar. And when there is a security problem in the NMS, you don't see it. When there is a availability problem in the SIM, you don't see it. It's very weird. I suppose if we had to invent today a monitoring system, it will take everything all together. And that's what we are trying to propose. So what is the solution proposed? First, we keep the physical availability security for the moment. We are not expecting everyone is going to stop and say, okay, I redo everything with IDMEFv2. But the first step is at least to make possible the centralization of all those information on the same platform, thanks to IDMEFv2. And we added, I will explain later, natural hazard are also done with IDMEFv2. What do we use to do that? A universal JSON format reporting all kinds of incidents, cyber, physical, availability, hazard. So we can have convergence objective on security monitoring, improve prevention, detection, reaction, and in theory, not right now, but in theory, reduce cost, because instead of having multiple monitoring platforms, you can have only one. So in theory, at the end, it's less cost for more performance, for more efficacy. Very quick state of art on incident detection format, because you might think some people, when we come with IDMEFv2, say, oh yeah, but there is already disease, there is already that. No, there is absolutely, and engineering will confirm, when you propose IDMEFv2 somewhere, there is no one coming, unless they are wrong, there's no one coming with an alternative. It's not in cybersecurity. There is not even one single format for just cybersecurity. There used to be IDMEFv1, but it never really crossed the commercial line. It was on open source research, but it didn't work. It didn't work on commercial stuff. There are a lot of proprietary formats, essentially log format, but not universal. In physical security, I'm less expert, but I didn't identify any standard. In availability, of course, there is SNMP. And SNMP is for pooling, and we are not replacing the pooling of SNMP. SNMP pooling is perfect. We are just after the pooling, when you get the result, to send the incident to the monitoring platform. And in hazard, I identify a format called Common Alert Protocol, which is also in JSON, much smaller. So it's interesting. We're working on translating CAP in IDMEFv2. And I insist on hazard because you don't have to be very clever to know that it's going to be something very important. The next year, it's going to be more and more important. For two reasons. Why? First, there is the climate change, of course. And the second reason is because with IoT, the IT is getting out of the data center. When you have all your servers in a data center, there is the cooling, the fire protection, everything. So the effect of the nature on the data center, unless you have a power rate, there is no effect. But when you start going out, obviously the nature and the heat, the flow, the cold, the snow, all that is going to be more and more important. 2 words about the existing cybersecurity formats, because often when we were talking about IDMF, everyone would say, oh, well, there is already STIX. But STIX is not at all an equivalent. STIX is really CTI oriented. Actually, it's in the name, threat information. So it's complementary, but it's not at all equivalent. And recently, when we went to IETF to propose the standardization track, someone said, oh, yeah, but there is OCSF. So I was less expert, so I was a little bit surprised. But then I looked a little bit. OCSF is a very ambitious alternative. But first, it's only cyber. It's more, second, it's very log-oriented, not incident detection, and there is no physical hazard availability, no detection, correlation, etc. So it's, and something they did is to choose exhaustivity versus simplicity, and that's not the choice of IDMEFv2, I will explain. So those formats are complementary, but they don't have the same goal nor the same perimeter. Okay, I'm checking the time. I think it's okay for the moment. I've started with this short introduction, why and what we are doing with why we are doing IDMEFv2 and why and why and how. Sorry, no, and now we explain. Sorry. Now we explain how what is inside IDMEFv2. So first, I will present, because it's very important to, the force we had in my former team is that we worked on IDMEFv1 for nearly 10 or 15 years. And it was very interesting to have, we worked on it, we studied it, we coded it in Prelude CM, we tried to improve it, etc. So we had a very good feedback about what was interesting in a structured format for incident detection and what was not. So the first decision we took is to follow the less is more motto, or the keep it simple, stupid motto. The idea is that in IDMEFv1, but it was done a long time ago, it was just the beginning of cybersecurity, and the reflex was to put everything. The idea was to put everything, try to put everything in the attributes. So it led to a very complex format, very deep learning curve. To program, it was very complex because we did it, and it's not good for adoption. So the first goal of IDMEFv2 is to prefer simplicity. And this little schema shows that, or my schema, it shows that you have to reach a point of complexity where you have the best adoption. If you have something too simple, it's useless, so people won't follow. If you have something too complex, if you go too far, then you lose adoption because only very, very deep experts will follow you. So our goal, especially during the V2, maybe later there will be a V3 with more information, but the V2 is ready to make to keep what is essential. I'm insisting on that. If any one of you work later or give advice, it's very important because the first reflex of technical people is to put everything. To decide what you have to take off is always very complicated. It was a big battle with my team. They were coming with a big list of attributes, and at the end, it was much shorter. There was the 1 out of 1,000 rule also. Sometimes I was saying, okay, this is very interesting, but it happens 1 time every 1,000 million incident. So we can't keep that, because if we keep all the very, very special stuff, it will be to be. Second, incident detection focused, so not exhaustive logging nor analysis. We are not expecting to put everything in IDMEFv2. We are putting only the stuff necessary for incident detection. Then when the incident is detected, when you open the ticket, whatever, then you start analysis, and maybe you have to go somewhere else to find information. It's even more interesting. Now there are the SOAR, S-O-A-R, which can easily get the information. So it's less important to keep the information in the format. That was the choice of IDMEFv1, and it was powerful but very complicated. Cyber and physical security and CIA, so availability is in the format. Wherever we can, we propose enumeration of attribute, closed list. That's another thing which was missing in IDMEFv1. If you want to have easy correlation, you have to have the less choice possible. And very important, the end-to-end format. The format starts to the sensor up to the operator. It has to be understandable by the operator. So sometimes some attributes, they are for computing, for correlation. Some other attributes are for the operator. That's the case for location. I will explain. On the bottom of the slide, you have a link toward the standardization principle. That's just a few of them. There are a few more. I think it's interesting to read that, even if you work in other field, because I realized that if we didn't put some kind of principle, everyone would come with different ideas. So we try to have all the same philosophy. Schema, this one is a little bit complicated, but to explain the link between the different formats when you do incident detection. So here you have the assets. You have the detecting zone, the sensor, and the analyzer detecting incidents, sending the incident to the manager with a machine-to-machine language. There's correlation, enrichment, CTI, whatever in the management, and then you display it toward the operator. And there it's man to human, and it's different. For example, if you give a geolocation with longitude, latitude to an operator, it can't guess where it is in the building, if say 24.7, whatever. So you need a local location. So this I will explain. Then there is the analyst after the incident, the analyst corresponding with other analysts, human to human, and creating maybe a CTI. And if you take here, the first part between the sensor and the operator is IDMEF. There is another standard at IETF called IODEF, Incident Object Definition Exchange Format, and it's more between human. When you have an incident, then you send the information to analysts so they can help you and maybe create CTI, and you can attach, for example, an IDMEF. IDMEF is more technical to an IODEF. Then you create sticks information, and the sticks information is coming back to the manager for correlation with incident. It can help detecting new incident. That's the I made this slide because often people know sticks, they know IODEF, or they know whatever, and they don't know where to put that. And I will put OCSFS, open schema, the one I talk about at this part, in the detecting part. It's log, and out of this log, structured log, very, very well structured, it will be easier to get information much better than syslog. Now let's go a little bit in details with the format. That's the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 class of IDMEFv2. So again, when you see the schema, it's very simple. You say, oh, well, of course. It took us quite a few moments to decide, especially, as I said, as we wanted less complexity possible. So the source, I suppose you know what it is, the source of the incident, the target of the incident, the impact, the asset impacted, the vector. There is in cybersecurity, you talk often of vector, attack vector. In physical, it's obvious. If there is a drone attacking a building, it's the vector, or a bullet or whatever. The sensor is capturing the information, and the analyzer is analyzing the information. This was very important. That's, for example, we aren't used to that in cybersecurity, but in physical security, there is a lot of sensor. There's cameras everywhere, and there is a monitoring centered platform where you manage all the cameras. And those cameras, they are on specific location. So it's important to know where they are because they have a specific sun detection area. The same for movement detection and things like that. So the notion of sensor was important. And then you create the IDMEFv2 alert. Just very quickly, I won't go into detail. That's the schema of IDMEFv1. You can see there is 30, I think I counted very quickly, there is 30 classes with all kind of relation, and it was recursive, so the coding was hell, and obviously it was good because we started out of that, but the mistake at the time was to make something too big. I'm sure it's better to, especially if you want to be in cyber, in physical, in availability, and natural hazard, if you go deep in all those fields, then it's not 30, it will be 200 classes, and nobody will never use it. So we are going now through all the classes, but quickly, it's just don't be afraid. I'm just trying, I will try to insist on the little specific stuff. So the version, the UID, unique ID of the message, that's obvious. Then we have organization name, entity name, and organization ID, entity ID. It appeared recently because of the project we are working on now with Safe for SOC, which is collaboration between SOC, because the first aim of IDMEFv2 was to have a single architecture, combine cyber and physical. But if you start using IDMEFv2 as an interoperability format, obviously, if you connect all kind of SOCs, it's important you know where the incident is coming from, because if you use only the target IP as its private IPs, they can be the same on different places. So we added that. The category of the incident, so it's in two-step intrusion dot Bulgari meteorological dot fog. So that's another subject. There's a lot of work on this part. The cause, if you know it, is it malicious, malfunction, etc. Description, the status is important. In IDMEFv2, you're going to put incidents, but you can also put event that might be incident. And that's the SIEM, the manager, the central, the monitoring, which is going to make the difference. So we have, for the moment, we have two steps. Either it's an event, either it's an incident. Maybe it's going to be a number here, because sometimes when people who do incident detection, they know that sometimes you have an incident, you are not sure an event, you are not sure it's an incident, you need to check more, but you have to keep it in the database because you have to check with others, you wait for more information, etc. The priority, the confidence, just for information, we use priority instead of severity, because that's very operational. The operational people, they care about the severity and the impact. The severity, if it's on a server which has no importance, it's not a priority. So we have the combination of the severity and on what kind of server, that's the impact. What kind of asset, sorry, that's the impact. Create time, start time, end time. Create time is the time of when you create the alert, and start time and time, the beginning of the incident, the end. Of course, if you know that, if you don't know, you don't put it. Alternate name, alternate category, that's to use the extension, and few attributes for managing the computing for incident detection, so correlation, previous ID, related alert, previous alert, etc. So that's a little bit complicated. I won't explain today, but that's typically the attributes just for the manager. It's not for the operator or whatever, just to make the detection. The analyzer, it's everything is a bit classic IP name host name. So we have a lot of information about the model, the type, the category. The idea is that if you mixed on the same architecture, different if you mix different tools, it's interesting to know that the same incident has been detected by two tools using different technique. If it's the same technique, if you have two antivirus detecting a virus, okay, that's interesting. But if you have an antivirus and AI model detecting something weird at the same time, it's better to know. So we put that, the data, the method, etc., and then the location. So I will explain just for this one. There are three locations. The geolocation is longitude, latitude, and altitude. So that's what you have with your GPS, for example. The UN location is a higher level location, is United Nations location for trade and commerce, but we use that. It's all big down in the world have this code. So here it's Greece, Athens, but you can have Paris, from Berlin, whatever. And what we call the location is I would say the internal location, the way people talk. They talk about the data center, the front yard, the rooms, etc. And that's typically the location for the operator, because the operator, if you give him the 48.75, it doesn't know where it is in the building. If you say it's in room 6306, it's very clear. So, of course, you have to define your own location for your architecture before using that, but that's very, very powerful. The sensor is more or less the same. I won't insist. There is even less information. It's just capturing the information. The source, nothing very special. Just the TI threat intelligence string is for enrichment. If you get information, if you have some threat intel on this source, you can add it there so the correlator can use it. The target, nothing special. We had to choose, so we choose service, user, email, port. Of course, we could put much more, but we put the most important information. It's important. We nearly called it impacted, but it was complicated because people would, but it's not, it's a target, but in case of availability problem, it's more an impacted asset. There is not someone sending a vector to make your server break down. It just breaks down. So when you think about target, it's also impacted the vector between the two. So nothing special. And the attachment class, you can put the attachment class a little bit everywhere. There are a few attributes. You can say essentially either you put some JSON information, like a small JSON into the big IDMEFv2, or an external file, an image, or whatever. This was the easiest way to have easy extension. There is another way you can really create a new attributes. It's detailed in the draft. But if you are in a hurry, you just put that in a JSON. In IDMEFv1, we had additional data, and people were putting a lot. So here it's a little bit more structured, the additional data. It can be attached everywhere on the target, on the source, whatever. Now we go through some example. The idea is just to show you that it's not so complicated. It's quite easy. Even if I hadn't explained everything to you, you can nearly guess what is in there. So it's a field authentication on root account, the geolocation, the location, the user, etc. So that's a typical cyber example. Physical is a bit more original because there is less the cyber example. It looks like some others, but physical, you will find the analyzer is a front door camera. The target, the vector has been detected. What is the vector of the incident? It's a human, because the camera has detected human activity. And we put the picture of the human taken by the camera in the attachment. So when you are monitoring in the central security room, you have the alert, and just you click on the alert, and you can have a shot of what's going on the image. So of course, if you take what they call PSIM, physical security information management, it's the equivalent of SIEM, but in physical. They have all that, but they have only that. They don't have the cybersecurity, they don't have the availability, they don't have the hazard. So the idea here was to find simple ways, so no big magic, but to have the minimum necessary in the centralization. Availability here, we don't have any source. It's only the target, because there is no source. It's bad luck. So, but you can still send information. And the idea is, of course, there is not much information about what's going on, but you can correlate. You have the IP of the target. Maybe you have a security problem at the same time. So if you see they can't be reachable and there is a security problem, maybe the security problem is the reason of why they can't be reachable. And you gain time instead of looking for network problem. Obviously, if there is an attack on the server, you can't connect to it. And that's where really, when we were working and deploying our products, that was really the problem between SOC and NOC, how they can communicate. And they are taking a lot of time to put things together. As if they had the format, it would be much easier. In our tools, what we had done is that on the SIM, could click on the IP and you would see the SNMP alert from the NMS, and the same on the other side. But it was still just little links. As now with IDMEFv2, we can have a global platform where then you can go down to the SIM or the NMS. And to finish, as hazard example, that's the little trick on the hazard example is that the create time is much before the start time. It's like a minority report. You know there's going to be an incident. The thing is that for the weather, for example, for some natural hazard, you know it before. You know there's going to be a storm. You know there's going to be a cold wave. You know so you can create the incident. It's in the database, and then the monitoring tool can use it to prepare some stuff. So I give you a simple example and why hazard came into that. In the first project, we worked together with engineering. We're monitoring ground segment, and one of the ground segments was in Finland, and there was a lot of snow. And when there is a snow, they have to activate the heater, I think, to heat. Okay. I thought instead of waiting for the snow to arrive to check that the heater is working fine, if we know there's going to be a snow in 2 days, it's better to have it in the database, and you can have automatic testing of the heater. The same, then after I thought another case would be the cooling in a data center. If you know there's going to be a heat wave in 2 days, you can have automatic testing of the cooling, automatic stop of certain server if they're not essential, etc. So it helps preventing all those natural hazards. And as I said, there's going to be more and more. So it's important not to have a phone call, oh, it's going to be hot tomorrow. It's better to have that directly in the system, and it can make some prevention action. So to finish, for the 4 important pillars, universal, I would say we have 5 dimensions. Maybe we are the only one having 5 dimensions in the format. There is the space 3 dimension, the time, and the digital, the IP. So we have all those dimensions. Wide incident classification. So we started with ENISA RIST reference security incident taxonomy, but I have to admit that after testing it, the idea was good, but it's not good enough. I'm reworking that completely. I'm taking part of ENISA, but I'm taking everywhere to. The idea is to have an incident classification. The same. It shouldn't be too big. So the first level is 2 levels. So we approximated maybe 30 entries in the first level and 60, 90 in the second, but not more. We can't have, for example, we've been working on QRadar. They have classification. I think they have 1,400 classification just for cyber. So if you start working like that, that's a famous exhaustivity. It's not possible. And I can tell you it's 10 times harder to have less, because you have to make choice, but it's working. I hope it will be working. It has to work anyway. Simple and focused, as you see, it's very limited number of class and attribute, easy extension, incident detection, and the technology, which should JSON HTTPS is not the best, but it's very simple. So that's why we choose it. But you can also use Kafka, but it's not in the draft. And end-to-end, as I explained, for a few information like the location. Okay, to finish the theory, I think we're more approximately on time. I will go through a few use cases, and then we go deeper with the engineering use case. So first, IDMEFv2 is been created for critical infrastructure security. So it's very special. It's very good for that. Now it can do a little bit more, but it was the project 7 Shield I will talk about, which was with a ground segment where we had physical and cyber threats. Another threats we had on the ground segment in Athens, in Greece. That's why there is the location in Greece. The people, they were in the middle of a forest, and one of their risks, more than a virus, was a fire in the forest, and to escape before it burns everything. So that's another reason why this idea of putting the hazard, so it's obvious when you have a big infrastructure. It's obvious that nature can also be dangerous. All smart systems, because they have sensors everywhere, and they have to make decisions and all that. So it's obvious smart system. So I give the example of connected vehicle. I think it's interesting because that's typically what I'm talking about the computers leaving the data center. So in in a vehicle, you can have an autonomous car, for example. You have all kinds of sensor, GPS, rear camera. You can see all that on the slide. They can be, so they are sensing, getting information to take decision, but they will be soon cyber targets. I think they are not yet because there are not so many cars you can attack, but the more cars there will be, when people will find a way of making money out of it, they will attack. It can also be vulnerable to external hazards, snow, rain, ice, wind, etc. And they also, of course, they can detect breakdown. So you have a little bit everything of IDMEFv2 in the car. And just to prove what I'm saying about the evolution of computer, I found this schema. I won't explain everything, but it shows how in the 1950, the guy driving the car was the human. In 2025, the human is not doing much. There is the cruise control, the brake control, the rear control, the whatever control. I say it's a joke, but I say now the cars are just computers with 4 wheels, and eventually there is a guy inside, and sometimes there won't be any more. We don't need the human to drive. So obviously, this is the externalization of the incident with the natural hazard, the physical problems, etc. Industry 4.0, I will go quickly, but as a lot of people talk about that, I identify at least 3 concepts linked with IDMEFv2, Internet of Things, cybersecurity, and cyber physical systems. So obviously it's interesting there.